Are you drowning in tasks and losing focus on what really matters in your business? Did you know that every hour spent on invoicing, emails, data entry, or calendar chaos is an hour not spent growing your business? That's where Oak City Admins comes in. We handle the busy work so you can lead, scale, and breathe easier. For less than the cost of a full-time hire, you get a dedicated expert who pays for themselves in productivity. If the biggest obstacle in running your small business is delegating to elevating, let Oak City Admins help you grow. Smart support, serious results.
She has been captivating audiences for years with her wit and charm, straight from the networking floor to give you all the dirt. It's Dusta!
Hey y'all, and welcome to another exciting episode of Down Home Dirt, the show where we dive deep into the journey of entrepreneurship with those who took the plunge and all the ups and downs that come with it. I'm your host, Dusta, and today we are joined with Katie. She is a mom of two, an entrepreneur, and a coach. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited to get to know you. I believe we found each other on the internet, which is amazing. I love that is a part of networking specifically for what we both do. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, where are you from and how'd you end up in the triangle?
So I am the exception to the rule. I feel like these days. I was actually born and raised here, down in a little tiny town called Anger. So I lived there my whole life. Went to school in the area, never have really left. I met my husband actually in high school. So again, another exception to the rule. So we've actually been married for quite some time. He too was born and raised here. It's so funny every time I talk to someone, they're like, "Oh, I'm from Chicago or New York or Florida or wherever," and I'm like, "Okay, I'm from here. That's cool."
I understand how you feel because I grew up in Sarasota, Florida, born and raised. And every time I would meet somebody, they were never from there. And they're like, "Oh, you're a rarity." And I was like,
Yep.
"Thank you." Like, I don't know what to say. And now I'm here as a transplant and I'm saying it to other people. So
Yep.
I get it now. Full circle.
I love that.
So let's start out with talking about what you do and who's your ideal client.
So I do a lot of different things. I don't necessarily have an ideal client. I firmly believe that the right people find me at the right times for the right reasons. I don't hunt for business, right? Like I think that there's, just perfect timing in every aspect of like what we do. We're really unique. So my company is called 111 Group. One of my companies is called 111 Group. And it's really significant. So we started 3 years ago under a different name. It was back when I was just me and like my assistant, and we had like a couple part-timers. And then about 2 years ago, my husband came into the business full time, and we'd kind of dabbled in like rebranding, and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I want it to be really like important and meaningful. And he comes to me about a week later and he's like, "Sit down, I have to show you something." And I'm like, "Okay." And he like presents me like the whole new brand. So I've actually had 111 tattooed on my arm for about 7 years now. And so that's kind of where the name comes from. And 111 is an angel number. And it's significant of like just slowing down for a second, which I have a hard time doing. I'm like ADHD, high octane, full throttle all the time. And anytime I see it, the universe is basically trying to tell me something like, slow down, you're on the right path, you're in the right place. So it's just really significant. And it's, really representative too of like growth and new beginnings and all these things. So it's really representative of what we do for small business owners. We offer a variety of services, right? So anything in the marketing creative space, from web design to content creation to social media management, one-on-one coaching, and kind of everything in between. And we don't put people in boxes. So we're not like your typical like run-of-the-mill agency out there that is going to give you package A, package B, or package C. I don't have two contracts with two clients that are the same. And that's really important to me. Now, that has not hindered our growth. I think it's actually really helped us. But, I've been shot down so many times. "Oh, that's not scalable. Like, you're going to have such a hard time doing that, everything being custom." And I'm like, screw it. Like, I'll figure it out. Like, this is such a miss and such a need, like in any industry really, from a marketing standpoint, because people try to pigeonhole you into one thing. And I think every brand, business, individual is really unique and should be treated as such. So we have a unique approach to things, but I think that's why people gravitate towards us, because we're real people and you have access to us, and you can call my personal cell number if you need something at 11:30 on a Tuesday night. Like, I've got your back. So we're definitely different in that capacity, but that's kind of very high level, who we are and what we do. We don't really have an ideal client. I think, people come through my door at the right time, and, we work with mom and pop solopreneurs, and we work with really large corporations, which is really cool. So we've got like a really interesting spread. We're in everything from food and beverage to, wealth management, which is pretty cool. And we've got clients all across the country. So not even just here in the Triangle.
I absolutely am getting goosebumps because I love this so much. You have no idea. The 111 thing, I see it all the time. And that's kind of what sparked my journey into like where I'm going now. I keep seeing it and I'm like, that means I'm on the right path. That means change. That means the good stuff. And to piggyback off of also the customization, I think we're aligned on that because I started my cleaning company and people would ask me like, what do you do? And I was like, well, every home is custom. So I don't have like a package that I offer. I offer coming in, going over the checklist because not everybody wants the same thing. And you're
Yeah. Well,
absolutely
and
correct on that.
there are some people who, hop on a discovery call with me and they're like, dude, what's the price? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you need? What's your budget?
Yes.
Right? Like, because I can do the same thing for a client on a lesser retainer over a longer period of time than I can do for a client on a higher retainer for a shorter period of time. So it's all relative. But I think, as a female entrepreneur too, right? Like I've been in rooms where people highly underestimate me,
Mhm.
or have very strong opinions about how, we're building this company and whatnot. But I think what has really just, solidified like the path that we're on, right? Is I always have a really strong feeling and I never ever falter from that. Like I know if something's really right or really wrong. With people, systems, like whatever, any aspect of the business, I've always trusted my gut and I've always gone with my gut and it has never led me astray.
That's like the joy of having ADHD as someone who also has it. I always can just feel like as soon as someone starts talking and cool, that sounds like a good idea, but I can't explain it. It's just, I don't feel
Yeah.
like that's right.
Yeah.
And that's how I
Well, and I
find my
always say,
clients too.
yeah. And I always say, like, people are like, well, you have ADHD, da da da. I'm like, yeah, I do. And it's wonderful because I've learned the power of leverage in business. So I hire people that are smarter than me to do all the stuff I don't want to do, right? Because you're only as good as your people. I joke all the time. I'm like, my mind is my playground and my prison, right? Like when I'm like focused and it's amazing and I'm creative, like I love it. It's like, woo, everybody's like, your energy is so great. And then other times, like I will sit there and try to fix things that like are not issues. Like I can't even help it. I'm just like, this could be better. I know I could do this. I could change this. I could tweak this. So I, as a leader, have had to learn how to like slow myself down so that I don't stress everyone else out around me. Because I get so excited and like I'm obviously so passionate about what I do and my ultimate goal, right, in life. I've been through quite the journey, so I wouldn't be the person sitting here today had I not walked through all those storms. But I think when you really find like your purpose, I think it changes everything, right? Like the lenses you look through are just totally different. And my purpose is really impact. If I can help people get to where I've gotten a lot faster without having to go through all the stuff I went through, like that's that's what I'm working towards.
That's the exact premise of this podcast because when I started a business, I had bought a house and I was here for a whole year and I didn't in this particular area. I lived in the area longer, but I didn't know anyone and I didn't know what I was doing. And I was like, you know what? I have gone through all of these things. I have found all of these resources. I have done these things. And I wanted to share it with people and be like, hey, you can, I don't want to say skip ahead and not do the hard work, but at least, hey, I put a roadmap out for you.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things I talk about, so one of my other businesses, I own a coaching company called Academy 222. So another angel number, it plays into like wealth, abundance, following your passion, finding your purpose. One day maybe I'll have a 333 444, so on and so forth, like company, we'll see. Sorry, my daughter's like slamming the door over there. I'll wait like 1 second. So, okay.
It's good. We're
Um,
moms.
yeah. But anyway, so one of the things I talk about is there's a really phenomenal book called Transcending the Levels of Consciousness, and it talks about how, I forget the name of the author, it's sitting over there on the table, but it talks about how every emotion has a frequency, right, and radiates at a certain like energetic level. And I say this to clients all the time, like you have to stay in like a really strong like headspace, like your mindset is everything in business. And I think that you look at a lot of entrepreneurs and you've got two people. You've got the people who understand that when you're in the right rooms and you're collaborating with people and you're absorbing and you're learning, that's very different than being in a room and becoming jealous, fearful, coveting what someone else has. So there's two very different types of entrepreneurs. And I see it a lot in my industry, right? Like I have some clients who do not care who their competition is. They couldn't even tell you their names. And I have others who very much so know who those people are. It's important to be aware of it at the same time. Like if you're wondering if the grass is greener, it is, right? Because you're not focused on watering your own
Yep.
grass, right? Like you're too worried about something else. And so it's really interesting to hear you say that, like, you have this, you too have this passion to like share and, empower other people with knowledge. And I just think having that mindset it's so few and far between. Unfortunately, I think I've found more of my people now that I like understand the rooms that I want to be in and the people I want to be around. But it's very easy. They say you're the sum of the 5 people that you hang around the most. And it's so true, business and personal. And I think that, any entrepreneur, whether you're first because when you're first starting out, it is so easy to look at what everyone else has. And like, you start to be like, oh, I wish I was there. But you don't see everything that person had to go through to get to the level they're at, right? Like we all have our journey, but transcending the levels of consciousness goes into some of these emotions and how if you can maintain like a certain energetic state, like it will help you. So I always try to stay in that like collaborative headspace. Like even if someone is, really annoying me or making me like frustrated or whatever, I have to like really ground myself and come back to like, you know what? It doesn't matter. Like this is my path. This is my journey. I'm very clear on who I am and where I'm going. Like none of this really matters. But no, I totally get it because it's so hard to find, especially females.
Yes.
You know, I deal a lot in the influencer world and like all these things. And so it's so interesting to see just the mindsets of different people and like being able to have that impact and like help some of them. Right. But like people also have to want to help themselves. You can't help someone who's not open to hear what you have to say, which I think is really important too. So no, I love that you said that because so many people miss the whole like collaborative bit of being an entrepreneur. It's so important to not get off put by someone who has more or what you want, right? Like you have to be empowered by that and like want to learn from them and it not be like a competitive thing.
No, I absolutely agree. And that was one of the things when I first started, I knew who my competitors were. And the only reason I knew who they were is because I wanted to stand out from them, not because I wanted to put them down. I looked at what they had to offer and I said, how can I stand out? How can I be different? And it also goes back to the idea of like when you collaborate, specifically in the cleaning world, if I can't take on a client or I don't think they're a good fit, I'm going to give it to somebody who I think is a good fit because I've met them and I know what they have to offer. And I think that's really good because people will come to me. Yes, we're not a good fit, but they'll remember me because I referred them to someone who was a good fit.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's really important.
People get tied up in the mindset sometimes of like, there's not enough to go around, but like, my kids run around saying it. I run around saying it. Money grows on trees. Like money is infinite. Like, and it's so funny. I say, I don't spend money. I circulate it. Right. So but that was a hard mindset for me to grow into, right? Like I didn't just overnight believe that. Like that was a lot of like inner child work and therapy and like all of these things to get to that point. But it's something I do share, a lot with my clients because like you, I have, not every client's a good fit. If I don't really feel like I can help you, I won't take you on. Or if I take you on and I find out down the road, like it's just not a good fit, I will fire a client. I don't like, that's fine. But I have a really solid network of referral partners to where if I can't take you on, I'm going to refer you to somebody who I know is going to take care of you. And it comes back tenfold, right?
I agree. And like, that's one of the things too. It's like, I'm at a kind of pivotal moment in my life where I like to sell my cleaning company. Right. And I'm going to my competitors essentially, and I'm quoting competitors and I'm saying, hey, I know you offer either a similar service or this client would be perfect for you. Do you want this client? Do you want to purchase this from me? Instead of being like, bye, I'm out. I don't care. Scramble, to my clients. And to everyone else be like, all right, I'm out.
Well, and I think in business, and anyone who's in business will understand this, business is all about relationships. I don't care what degree, what piece of paper you have hanging on the wall, everything in this world, it's all in who you know and the rooms that you put yourself in and the people that you connect with. It's all about just like expanding your web, and you only do that, right, by like engaging with others, which is really cool. But some people miss that, right? And so that's like my goal, is to like help other entrepreneurs. Like, yes, obviously we have a company, we provide services, and that's all well and good, but like my passion is obviously like my academy and my coaching clients, and being able to like give them the tools and empower them, and the confidence, right, of like, hey, you do deserve this, and you can go get this, and you only want this because future you has this, right? Like, I have no desire, literally there's not a bone in my body that desires to go sell real estate, right? But I have tons of friends and clients who like, they love real estate and they're super passionate about it, right? But that's because that's their destiny, that's their desire, right? Desire is destiny. I want to have this lucrative, amazing, like massive coaching company, but I never want to get to the point where like I'm passing off my clients to other coaches either. I want it to be me. That's really important to me. And I know that's not the way that people typically scale and do things these days, but like, that's my dream. That's what I want. And then obviously like my marketing company, I'm super passionate about. I love to be creative and like all of these things. And like, it's so cool. Like, I get to work with my husband. I get to make my own schedule. And, a mentor of mine years ago told me being broke is hard and being rich is harder, right? But choose
Yes.
your, like, you get to wake up every day and you get to choose.
That is so true, because I grew up poor, and once I started a business, I did this to leave a domestic violence relationship, and I started getting more money than I'd ever made in my entire life. And I was like, man, while this is like, being poor was hard, but being more wealthy is harder, because then I had all these other things I had to think about, which I didn't have to think about when I didn't have the money, and learning how to manage them. And obviously not having the background in order to do that was really tough, I'm going to be honest. So
Yeah. Well, and no, I grew up very similarly. Like, I don't come from a lot, and most people don't know that about me. I actually had someone like literally recently, a couple months ago at a holiday event, just assume that like my dad or my mom was like this, like, really successful, like, I guess, person. And I was like, not quite. So like, here's my actual background and like where I come from. So, my dad worked in corporate America for 30 years. He retired after getting cancer. He's
sorry.
fine. Thank you. He's okay. He's still fighting. But he was diagnosed 4 years ago this year on my birthday. And my mom retired from teaching. She was a teacher. My mom had all the degrees and all the qualifications. When my mom retired, she was making just over $20,000 a year. Like, that's insane. I hear that now. Like, I knew that growing up. Like, I knew how much money my parents made and stuff. And like, I hear that now and I'm like, it blows my mind, because I just didn't have any concept of money growing up. Like, I knew we were broke. I knew we struggled, right? Like, hot dogs and like Kraft mac and cheese, for the win, like Vienna sausages. Okay. Like, been there, done that. But
Yep.
I watched my parents struggle, and I watched them give their lives to like, other companies and other people, and, making the rich richer. Right.
Yes.
And I just didn't want that for myself. Like, both my sisters, like, they went the traditional like college career. Like, my one sister's a nurse, my other sister works in like the design world, like, and they're, successful in their own right. But I've just always like wanted more, and I don't know where it came from, right? Like, I don't come from a long line of entrepreneurs or anything like that. I think actually the first exposure I ever had to like entrepreneurship was actually when I met and started dating my husband. His parents like own their own business. And that was like my first exposure to that whole like universe, I guess, because it's totally different than, kind of like how I grew up and where I came from. And, my parents did the absolute best they could for me, but like, I started like, even now, like, I want more for them, right? Like, I'm like, oh, like, if I wish this version of me like knew you however many years ago, because like they're both so talented like in their own ways. But I think we're taught, right? Like, you go to high school, you graduate high school, you go to college, right? Or at least my generation, right? Like, that's the lies we were fed, let's be honest. And I was the black sheep for so long, because I was like, it's just not for me. Just don't want to do it. Like, I want to work for myself. I want to create my own opportunities. Like, I want to see how far like I can go, and all those things. And I think, coming from the background I did, I wouldn't appreciate money the way that I do had I not grown up the way that I did. Because there were times we didn't know where the next meal was coming from. Like, I grew up in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, less than 800 square feet with 2 sisters, dogs, my parents. Like, it it is what it is. And I'm very grateful for all those experiences because I would not be the person I am today without it. But I also think there's people who, you've obviously, become an entrepreneur and kind of like come on the other side, but there's so many people, young people who are just like me who, those are the people I hope to like be able to touch. One of the things we're doing this year is starting a nonprofit that helps like kids who are interested in becoming entrepreneurs. I'm like super excited about it. After speaking at NC State last year, because there's a lot of kids who go through similar upbringings and they don't come out on the other side of it. They don't know that this is an option, right? They fall victim to their circumstances. And I kind of, in my coaching academy and then being able to mentor some like different youth, I've really found like that impact, that passion there as well. Because if I can take one person who's 16, 17, 18 years old, who doesn't know that like this is an option and you can do something else, you can go against the grain. It's just, I'm so excited about everything that's like going on, obviously.
No, that's great. I was just going to say, just to touch on it, I have a very similar background. My dad went to college. He got 2 associate's degrees. He worked corporate. He retired early. And my mother, she has really bad ADHD. She'll never admit it, but she was all over the place. She never like held a stable job, right? And she'd have it for 3 months and then she'd get fired. And I'm the same way. And so I actually watched my dad be the stable one, right? And he would always tell me, go to college, go to, at least 2 years. It'll change the way you look at the world. So I did that. Now I'm in student loan debt, right? I don't even use my degree for what I went to school for. And when I was 18, my mom and I actually, we started a cleaning company together, and it was successful for a period of time. And then the housing crisis happened and it dissolved. But like, I didn't really grow up either with the entrepreneurial around me. I just kind of like, I can't explain it, but ever since I was little, I've like questioned everything. And my mother used to be really mad at me because why was always my question, right? And so I would look at stuff. And so I'm looking at my dad's job, and granted, his job couldn't be an entrepreneur. He repaired black boxes for the government. So when they, right? Really cool. But I used to look at it and I'd be like, okay, so I'm gonna go to work for $7.25 an hour, right? And then I'm gonna pay taxes on it, right? How could I make more money for less work? And then that's when it kind of just started. And then I was a babysitter when I was 14. And, I always tried to like work for myself. And then I got a job at Publix, and I was just like, okay, well, I'll use my job at Publix to meet moms when I take their groceries out to get more babysitting clients. So it's kind of like always been in me, and I've nurtured it. And I also wanted to touch on the fact that you were talking about entrepreneurship in young people. And when I was a young person in high school, I didn't really know that was an option because it wasn't really taught to me either. And more recently, I've learned about a program with our local Chamber of Commerce called STEP, and that's Students to Entrepreneurs. And I love that you are also like jumping on, because I think that we definitely need to let people know that there's more than just going to school to get a technical degree. Going to college, you need to be able to work for yourself too, because in times of like, say, the pandemic, I started my business a month before the shutdown. I have never experienced so much growth in my business than right then. I was handed an opportunity, and had I just been like, oh, I have a degree, like that didn't do anything for me. So I love that you're doing this and showing people, hey, you can do it. I did it. It's great. And you can come from something that's not the best, because I did the same thing. And look where I'm at today. I own a home. I own a car. I own 2 cars. I never in my life would imagine that when I was growing up.
Yeah, no. And it's, I think that piggybacking off to like, your parents kind of similar, I read a book one time, and I don't remember the title. I read a lot of books. But it was really powerful. It said our parents are a product of their parents, and their parents are a product of their parents before them. And they literally only have the tools that they, have been given. And that was really interesting for me to kind of put in perspective of like, it's not my parents' fault that they, in their mind, right? Like me going to college and me doing it, like that's the way they'd always been taught, like themselves growing up. And so that's naturally, right? Like what they wanted to like instill in like me and my sisters. And like, I used to always get so mad because I'm like, no, like I don't want to do that. Like, stop pushing me. Like, I feel like you're putting me in a box. And like anybody put me in a box, like that's just not a good situation. And I just like, I remember being frustrated a lot of the times because I'm like, why can't you just see things the way I do? But it's because they quite literally were hardwired to see things a different way. And so reading that and really being able to put that in perspective, like even like, you know, emotionally coping with certain things and like some of the conversations I was privy to growing up, like I'm very careful like of like what I expose my children to, because like those are core memories for me. Like, so I think it's really powerful, like to be able to go, hey, oh wow, like I'm breaking a lot of like generational like things here, right? Like, and it's kind of crazy, like when I, because when you're going through whatever in life, right? You sit there and you're like, why? Like, why is this happening? And it's very easy to fall into that like victim mentality. And one of the things I've like worked really hard on, like in, you know, this whole healing journey I've been on, is not necessarily looking at like why is it happening. It's like, what is it doing for me? What is it teaching me? What am I learning from this? Like, what is it showing me? Because there was a lot of forgiveness I had to do, like even with my parents, of like, because I used to be, why didn't you work harder? Why don't you just like, I knew my mom didn't make money. Well, you have all these degrees. Why don't you go work at a college? Why don't you go do this? Like, there's so many other things to where you could be doing this, where we wouldn't be struggling. And when I like had this epiphany of like, oh my God, like it's really not their fault. Like they're only coping and doing with the tools that they have. That was a lot I had to work through, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I blamed you and had a lot of like, things to work through, but like it wasn't your fault. And like, that's okay, but now I know, and now I can do better for my kids. And I think that's like the lesson in all of it, right? Is like, yes, like my children want for nothing. And like some would call them spoiled brats, and that's fine. But they also understand the value of a dollar, and they understand how to earn something, like work towards something. And, I've taken a lot of the hardship I had to go through, and I'm learning to teach them those lessons in different ways where they're not having to experience that struggle, but they still understand like the end point of some of those lessons, if that kind of makes sense.
Yes, it does. And that's like one of my things too, is I don't feel like my parents set me up for success, because their parents obviously didn't set them up for success either. And so I used to be really angry about it. And I went to therapy, and I started learning, just like you, that that's okay, because they gave me a prime example of all of the things that I didn't want to be and the things I wasn't going to do to my children. And so I feel like without that, I wouldn't be sitting here today surviving and thriving and doing everything I'm doing. I feel very proud of myself just as a parent, because I've set my children up for success. Just a little preference. I have 2 adult children. One of my adult children has autism, and he is completely on his own. He has his own apartment, a full-time job, a car. He is great. Right. And my brother, he has some other mental disabilities, and he lives with my parents, and he can't handle, going to the store, and my parents have to still take care of him. And that was kind of a area of contention in our relationship, is that they didn't get him the help he needed. And I saw that my whole life. And my son, I was like, absolutely not. And here he is, 19 years old and successful. So again, I'm trying to put the anger aside so that I can be like, you know what, that was a great example. You didn't have a whole lot going on. That's okay.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I think, there's something to be said for being able to like look at it, right? Like step out of it and look at those experiences and go, because I'm like, again, I now know my parents did the best they could for us with the tools that they had been given from their parents, with their own life experience, whatever. I am just fortunate that I was able to take that and learn from it in a different way, to where I can choose differently. I don't think, I don't fault them. I don't harbor any anger towards them. Like, I know they worked. I mean, my dad worked till the day he retired, like with stage 4 cancer. Like, come on, like it. And I get my work ethic from my dad. I didn't used to see that or understand it, but like, I know that I work as hard as I do because I watched him do that for so long. I just choose to do it for myself and not for, some company somewhere. And I used to, growing up, like, he was one of the most long-standing people. I'm not going to name the company he worked at, because like it will really get me fired up. But he gave them, 30 years of his life. And, I used to go to work with my dad growing up and all these things. And I would hear him on the phone, like with his bosses, and he would talk about like, oh, they're doing this promotion and somebody's going to get, promoted to this and whatever. And he would get so fired up about it. And then he would get passed over for the younger version of himself every time. Could not tell you how many times in my life I'd seen that happen. And I used to get so irritated by it. I'm like, and now I kind of know why, right? Because like this is where I was like headed. Like now I understand a lot of like the mindset and like the psychology of it all. I would get so mad because I'm like, deep down, right? Like there's another path. Like you're fighting for like minuscule amounts of money, right? Like when my dad retired, he was making like 65, 70 grand a year. Okay. Like to some people, that's a ton of money, right? Like to me, that's not a ton of money anymore. Like it's just, I'm like, I've learned so many different things and seen so many different things. And when you sit next to like multimillionaires and you have like these crazy conversations, you look back and you go, there are people literally slaving away for people who don't even know their names. And that really instilled in me that I think that work ethic, like he was such a hard worker. He would, I mean, what he did was like very like hands-on, like he would build things and fix things and like he would travel. I mean, I remember my dad got his butt in the car. He drove to Atlanta, did his job and drove back to Atlanta, like to home to Raleigh in one day because he's crazy. But like, I get my stubbornness from him. I get my work ethic from him. If I make up my mind I'm going to do something, like I'm going to do it come hell or high water. So everybody just better get out of my way. Like period, end of story. And I didn't used to see that. Like I just knew daddy worked hard and like whatever. And now I look and I'm like the moment you start to see like your parents in you, it's like, oh, this is what they were talking about. Like, oh, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm my father. Oh my God, I'm my mother. Like what's going on? I think like you hit 30 and it's like, okay, cool. Got it. Like, it's so funny because they used to tell you growing up, one day you're going to understand or this, that. And I'm like, yep, you know what? I'll fall on that sword. You were correct.
Yes, that's me too. Sometimes my mother or my father comes out my mouth and I'm like, where?
I know. I'm like, oh, cool. Got it.
Exactly, especially with parenting. Because I'm like, well, one day you'll get it later in life.
Yep. It's so funny. And I just laugh now because I'm like, I get it now. Like, I actually know, like, one day you're going to be like, oh, wow, mom. Like, cool.
Yes, like I said, I have 2 adult children right now. And sometimes I have to be like, do I let them learn this lesson on their own or do I precaution them, right? And then I'm like, if I pre-do that, then I'm being my parents and like that didn't work out well for me. Like, how did I receive that,
Yep.
And so I try to just be like, well, do you feel like that's a good idea? How do you see that happening? You know what I mean? Like I have to reparent
Right.
myself at this point because I don't want to pass on that generational, I call
Yeah.
it bullshit because that's what it is.
Yeah. 100%.
Was have to make sure that I'm teaching the lessons that I want them to learn and making sure they don't learn the ones that I had to learn.
Yes. Parenting is hard. Like, I don't think I get asked the question all the time. People are literally like, how do you do it? I'm like, I don't think there's like a recipe to how. People talk a lot about like work-life balance, and I get it. Like, I share a lot of my life on social media. I have kids, I have dogs. I don't really have hobbies, I'll be honest with you. I don't really do anything other than work. And that's, another one of my mentors used to say all the time, if you're balanced, you're broke. And that, like, probably more than any saying, and it stuck with me, yes, there's some form of balance, right? Like in the chaos, like just naturally. But I think we all entrepreneurs were like, you have all these gurus and all these, and look, I'm a coach, like fine, whatever. But like you have all these like coaches, right? Who are like, oh, like you have to find balance and like this. And like, no, you don't. Like right now, my husband and I, we're in build mode. Okay. Couldn't tell you the last time we had a date night. But like we also understand and like have the perspective of like, we get to work together every day. And like, it's so cool. Like most people don't get to have the relationship that we have. But people are always like work-life balance and work-life balance. And you have to have these hobbies and like da-da-da. And like, no, you don't. Like that is the biggest lie we are honestly fed as entrepreneurs. And anytime I hear someone talk about work-life balance, I literally want to vomit because it's like, it's just not true. If you want to chase your dreams and you want to achieve your goals, guess what? There are going to be times when you have to sacrifice things. You have to sacrifice, things at your kids' school or family outings or vacations or whatever else. Because when you're in build mode, nothing else matters except grind. Like that's it. That's all you can do. But there's moments in there, right? Like I have the freedom and we do this like maybe every quarter. Okay, we probably should do it more. That's fine. I'm trying to think when the last time we did it. Maybe it was October. So it's February now. So October. it was like a Friday. We had a client cancel a shoot and like it just worked out. Like my husband and I love a spa. Like we love a spa, right? Like that's our kryptonite. And I called the Umstead and like you can't, if you're from Raleigh, you can't like get in the Umstead like last. They were like, we have an 11 and 11:30. How soon can you be here? I said, I'll be there in 20 minutes. And we got our butts in the car and we spent the whole day at the spa, right? So like, yes, we're in build mode and our life is not balanced and it's absolute chaos sometimes, but like we have the freedom to do that whenever we want to do it, whenever it works out that we can do it. And like those are the moments like where you're able to kind of like recenter and ground yourself. But the lie that like you can build something really fantastic and just like of your wildest dreams and also have balance, like what even is that? You know what I mean? Like it's just, to me, balance is like being able to close my computer at 11 o'clock and enjoy a glass of wine, right? Like that's a win. That's a great day in my book, But some days aren't like that. I mean, my husband is up until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes because nobody else is going to do it for us. Like we're very flexible with our staff and we want to make sure like everyone has the same like opportunity to like be able to have that flexibility and go do whatever you want whenever you want to do it. And we're very progressive in that sense. Not a lot of companies are like that. But that's really important to us. So like, but the lie that like you can have this like work-life balance as an entrepreneur, like in build stage, it's fake news. It's just not a thing. And like anybody listening to this who is like an entrepreneur and like any coach or any guru or anybody you're listening to is telling you like you can achieve what you can't. It's not real.
I don't think there's such thing as like work-life balance because I understand I've been through that. I do feel like there is a balance between experience and entrepreneurship.
Yep.
And I feel like that's why we do it first and foremost. For example, I'm an entrepreneur, right? And I'm not always there for my kids' stuff, but when the opportunity comes and it matches up, it's great. And also being an entrepreneur, I think allows for more experiences in life in general, because had I not done what I'm doing, there was an event that I got invited to, and it was called Life Rebalanced. And that's where I met a lot of interesting people. They've come on the podcast and it really helped me network and like open it. But again, if I was working a 9 to 5 or if I was trying to achieve balance, that would not have been an experience I got to do. So I just look at it like balance your experiences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and one thing that's really important to me, because again, like I've said earlier, my parents both did work the traditional like 9 to 5 jobs, like all these things. And my parents didn't come to, I mean, when they could, but like school plays, sporting games, extracurricular activities, my parents weren't there. My form of balance is I get to say no to things that, coincide. Like I sacrifice in other departments, right? Like I don't take care of myself. Like I take care of myself, but you know what I'm saying? Like I don't go get facials and like do all these things. Like I don't have, that's my sacrifice, right? Like not that that's my sacrifice, but you get what I'm saying? Like I put myself last because it's more important to me to show up for my kids, right? Like we make a point to go eat lunch with them like every couple of weeks. Like, we are at every single, I don't care if it's the middle of the day or after school, whatever, we are at every single thing that has to do with school because they're going to remember that. I remember the hope of like, oh, mom or dad's going to come. Like they're going to show up, like they're going to be here. Right. And I know that I get to give, like my kids have no doubt. If I say I'm coming, I'm there. I might be 10 minutes late, but I'm going to be there. You know what I mean? And, that's something that's important to me. So I think like to your point, right? Like balancing the experience, you also have the choice of like what you're putting your time towards, right? So when you do have that time, you get to choose like where it's spent. And I think that's like, it's really cool and like special. Like it is absolute chaos sometimes and it is really hard. I don't think anyone realizes how hard it is to be in business for yourself until you're in it. We're a special breed of crazy, I think. And, but it's all worth it. Like, in certain moments or something happens, an opportunity comes, across and, I could not do any of this either. One thing I wish, right? Like someone had taught me or I had learned earlier on this journey. Again, I wouldn't be the person sitting here today, like had I not gone through a lot of the things I went through, but it's the power of leverage. And like I said earlier, hiring those people who are smarter than you to do the things you either don't have time to do, or they do it better than you or whatever. And, I have an incredible tribe of people. One of the first hires we made a year and a half ago when we were able, as I hired a full-time nanny. I was like, it's more important to me for like my kids to get to like go to the pool and do all of these things and like know that they're having an awesome time where like we can work if we need to. And then like being able to have like our nanny travel with us and do all these things. And people like, I've been literally like mom shamed for like having a nanny. Like it's actually like crazy. And I'm like, I wish everyone could have a nanny. Like this is like, it's the best thing ever. Like I wish every single person like, because being a mom is a full-time job. I don't care what anyone tells you, like full-time job, being a mom, full-time job. I have so much respect for stay-at-home moms because like I could never do that. I could never do it. I mean, I could if I had to, but like I would go crazy. Like kudos to them. I think stay-at-home moms should get paid. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But hiring that nanny, that bought my time back. And as an entrepreneur, that is how you leverage people, right? You leverage people to get your time back so that you can focus on like your highest and best use, right? Like my highest and best use is talking to my clients, building relationships with people, doing the web design. Like that's websites are like my jam. Like, so like my time, I know where my time is best spent, and it's my job to hire people to do all the other things that I don't have time to do or know could be done better so that I can focus where like my mind and my energy is like best spent. But people they don't teach you that. Like, and even some coaches, like they're like, they sell you on, I can teach you balance and I can help you grow to 6 figures and I can do all these things, but they don't actually give you the actual steps that like you need to take to like accomplish those things, which is so interesting to me.
Yeah, a good friend of mine, she described it this way. She says, don't ever ask how you're going to do it. Ask who's going to do it.
Yes.
And I was like, that's a freaking light bulb.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of that, I did wanted to ask you, how do you approach criticism for both your own work and when providing feedback to others, like as a coach?
So I think feedback is a gift, right? And that is, listen, I used to take things very personally. And that is like a lot of internal work I had to do just before this, right? Like I was on the phone with a client and, she has all these ideas of all these changes and like different things she wants to do to the site. And I'm sitting here going, like, aesthetically, it's so perfect. And like, I love it so much, but like, it doesn't really matter what I think. Like it matters what she thinks and what she wants. And so like, sometimes I have to like swallow my pride, catch myself. But like at the end of the day, if you can't accept constructive criticism, feedback, anything, whether positive or negative, because I think some of entrepreneurship is how you take positive feedback too. If you let that feed your ego, like, oh, girl, nah. It's just a lot of people get too big for their britches, we'll call it, right? Like just calm down. So I think it goes both ways. It's positive and negative. I think the negative, you have to take it as an opportunity to grow and learn and either do it differently next time or just take the feedback and understand, like in my world, feedback is kind of relative sometimes because everyone has different creative tastes, right? Mm-hmm. I have clients who would hate big, bold, beautiful letters on a website, and I have clients who would love it, right? So like it's all relative in who you're speaking to in my world sometimes. But I think you have to, as long as you're staying true to who you are and you're able to just kind of like let feedback go in one ear and out the other and, have the things that are really important kind of stick in between there, then you'll be fine. I think the second you take something personally, then emotion gets involved and then it's that ego that comes in and then everything spirals from there. But that's a skill. It's a skill that takes years to develop. Again, like earlier, like I still struggle with it sometimes and have to like swallow my pride and shut my mouth and just be like, okay, whatever you want. Like, even though I think it's better this way, it doesn't matter, right? Like it doesn't matter. I give my feedback back and go, well, this is the aesthetic, like way it's set up. But then sometimes it's also knowing when to ask why, because sometimes people give, feedback. And then when you ask them why, if they can't articulate it, sometimes they like almost talk themselves back out of that feedback and go, actually, I hadn't thought of it from that perspective. So if you're ever in a situation where you're receiving feedback, especially on something creative, it's always important to ask them why. And sometimes they'll be able to explain it and sometimes they won't. But sometimes it just helps you pull a little bit more information out so that it, you're not feeding that ego of like, well, why? Like, cause I think my way's better. It's like, no, I actually like, I want to understand why and how your brain landed on this so that I can either keep that in mind for next time I'm designing or doing something for you. Or I can be like, okay, well, that really doesn't make any sense, honestly. Like, so it's just really interesting. I always try to ask the question why, especially if it's something I can't understand or articulate. And sometimes it's just personal taste. Sometimes their answer is just, I just like it better this way. And that's a perfectly acceptable answer. It really comes back. It's that ego. You have to be really careful.
No, I agree on that. And like some people feel like when I ask why that I'm doing it to be disrespectful. And I'm like, no, I'm genuinely asking. So I have to always preface that and be like, I'm genuinely asking why, because I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings. I just really want to know. And that kind of disarms them too.
Yeah.
So they're not
Well,
like,
anytime I go into, especially with a website, right? Because we do a ton of websites, and you know, your website is your first impression. Like,
Mhm.
honestly, like it'll make or break you. And I always say, especially when we're doing review meetings, I say, this is like a gloves off, like bare knuckle fight here. Like, you say whatever you need to say. It's not going to hurt my feelings. Like, I might think it should be a different way, but at the end of the day, it's my job to deliver your vision, not mine. You hire me because creatively I am the best at what I do, and I stand by that. I will die on that hill. But at the end of the day, if you have it in your mind as it looks this one specific way, then it's my job to deliver that, whether I have a differing creative opinion or not.
absolutely agree with you on that, because it's really hard to deliver something that you don't fully believe in, but at the same time you realize that it's work. It's such a hard split, and I understand that, because that's me with my cleaning company. I'm just like, okay, well, I think that we should clean it this way and do this, and other people are like, no, 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 and I'm like, okay, we'll do it your way. That's fine. Or like
Yeah, and
making a bed. I know it's like so trivial, but I want the bed a certain way. And so like I have this one client and I make it like hotel style where you like, you fold it down and you have the
yeah.
pillows. They hate it that way. They want it all up and tucked in. And I'm like, but it looks military style, not like a home, right?
Well,
But
and it's knowing too, and that's a skill we develop as, especially as leaders, right? Like, of a business, you have to know, and again, it's a skill. You develop it with experience and, whatever else. You have to know when to just like fall on the sword and say, fine, okay, like we'll do it your way. But you also have to, because there's a fine line, right? If I'm in a design meeting too, they're like, well, I want it this way. Okay, well, you hired me because I'm the best at what I do, and you hired me for my opinion, and I'm telling you it's not going to work this way. I understand that you want it this way, but this is not the best thing for your website. And so it's understanding when to say that, or just when to just like, okay, creatively, fine, if I can make this happen, then we're just going to do it because that's what you want. And it's so funny sometimes. Oh God, I'll never forget. I did this one site. It turned out beautiful. It's one of the best sites I've ever done. But sometimes you just have to, like, earlier we were talking about, letting your kids learn certain lessons on their own. It's the same thing with clients. Sometimes I had this lady and she just was always like head in the clouds, like wondering what was like, I don't know. So anyway, we were like going through topography on this website. And when I tell you, I changed these fonts 75 times, like no short of 75 times. And that is no exaggeration. Like I was like, I'm very patient. I work with a lot of different personalities. I was ready to pull my hair out. Again, the site turned out beautifully. It all worked out. Everything was great. But I mean, we were changing fonts that like down to like the millimeters of like serif fonts and like the little wings on the font, like
wow.
you're talking a millimeter difference. We were changing it. And it wasn't change this section. It was no, I want you to change the whole site so I can see the whole thing. And the platform I design in, I can't just hit a button and every font change. No, 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 no. It's every text box. It's every button. It's every single thing I had to click and individually change. And so we finally had gotten it down to like these, I don't know, 2 or 3 fonts. And literally I was like, this is the best font. I think this one looks the best. Like I design these, like I look at a lot of fonts. Okay. Like I think these are the best ones. No, no, no. I want to see this other one like one more time. So I changed the whole thing. She goes, yeah, you're right. That is the best one. Okay. So that's fine. So, I mean, sometimes you just have to like, as annoying as it is, you just have to show people that you're right sometimes. Like, okay, well here's your way. Here's the other way. You know what I mean? Like if you land back on the first way, that's fine. Like I'm not an I told you so kind of person, but it was just so funny because I was like, all right, well, this was the font we went back and forth with for like 4 days, and here we are.
Right? You just like shut up and be like, oh, no, nothing. So
Yep. I
speaking
mean,
of,
it turned out beautifully, so can't complain.
exactly, I feel you on that. So other than like traditional metrics like revenue and growth, how do you measure success with your clients?
I think it's impact. For me, it's the little like text messages here or there. Oh my God, I had 3 clients come in this week because of the video that you created. Or wow, like, a lot of times with, especially with content, right? The content creation side of our business, like the social media management side, we have to pull people out of their shells. Like that's just part of the job. And my husband and I joke all the time that it would be so cool if we could go on every shoot together, because like I kind of direct, he shoots, does his thing, but that's obviously just not feasible. But sometimes we have crazy ideas and we have to tell the clients like, trust us, like we just know like this is gonna pop off, like you just have to trust us. And it's so rewarding. Like take the money, take the growth, take everything out of it. Like the most rewarding thing is for when they come to you and go, oh my God, your idea and your creative vision was spot on. We got multiple clients off of this. Our phones are ringing off the hook. Like whatever that looks like for that specific business is when they're like, wow, your creative vision, your idea that you had, this is why we hired you, right? Because you see things, like you see the world. My dad used to always say, and he still says it to this day sometimes, he says, what color is the sky in your world? And I used to always say growing up, I'd say rainbow. It's just all of them. Just depends on the day. And I think that it's so funny because now I'm like, wow, like I am literally living in like my creative space. Like I'm doing what I love every single day. I get to work with all these people in all these different industries. And it's just so cool because what he used to pick on or joke with me about, like, when I would say something silly or have a crazy idea as a child, it's like, whoa, like that was like my destiny, is to be able to like take my rainbow brain, right, and like use it for good for like all these people. So it's definitely just like the impact and the validation of like people seeing, like, even though sometimes we sound like crazy people with asking you to jump or do this or talk like this or whatever, it's just really rewarding for them to be like, whoa, okay, like, yeah, we knew you were talented, but like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like that's the best part.
I agree with it. I like that. I was going to also ask you, because I know that social media evolves a lot, and I'm going to be honest, I'm one of those people who cannot keep up with it. And I don't know if it's my age or what, but as a social media evolves, how do you adapt your content strategy to stay relevant while still being authentic?
So I don't even think it's, oh, social media, man, wow. I think for me, I think I'm a very, obviously I have the creator side of things that I do too. I grew on social media really fast because I lost a bunch of weight in 2020. I shared that story really transparent, online, my struggles, my triumphs, all those things. So I grew, pretty good on TikTok and Instagram. Um, you know, for so many years, we've all been taught niche down, niche down, niche down,
Mhm.
and kind of playing into my whole, persona of like, don't put me in a box. I've never done that. And there's been times where my social media grows and there's times when it doesn't. But I think for me, I stand by everything I put on there. So I think strategy wise, for a business and a personal brand, it's very different anyway. Um, some people use social media as a lead generation tool. Other people use social media for, social proof. It just depends. And I think that the pivot strategy is also different for both. 6 months ago, we were in a world where it was post 3 times a day and do this and da 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 da, like quantity over quality. And now we're and social media will always ebb and flow. And now we're moving back into that quality over quantity content kind of space, which I see it in another 4 months going back to quality, because you have like TikTok maybe going away still and like all these, things happening. I think with any brand, any business, any person, persona that we work with, from a social media standpoint, it's just, if you know who you are and you know your mission and you know what you want to share with the world, that's at this point all that matters. You have all these people who say the algorithm is this way or the algorithm is that way and da 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 da. And it's like, one thing that has never changed in all my years of doing this: authenticity is magnetic. It comes through every time. Like, I will throw a stupid little gimmicky, like I did a little injection video of like, the other day, and it like popped off. And I'm like, this is so funny because I know this. I know it to be true that the content you just spur of the moment, like sometimes just throw out into the world, does the best. than if you sit and you plan and you try to strategize. Oh, what's the best time to post? And when should I do this? And da da da. And in some cases, yes, from a consistency standpoint, especially on the business accounts we work on, those are factors that we take into consideration. But with a lot of the personal brands we work on, it's really important to stay more true to that like authentic side of things. It's such a loaded question because it's so different, but I think again at its core, social media was created for connection. Okay. And it lost its way, right? Like even right now, TikTok is like QVC, okay? Like whole thing. But at its core, it was created to be a tool for connection and connecting people all over the world to people they otherwise would have never met, come across, whatever. And I think if you're showing up authentically on social media, engaging with people's content that you actually like and you actually want to consume and not just consuming for the sake of consuming, and posting stuff that like you really care about and it's really important to you, resharing things you think are funny, like on your story, like not because it's in your niche or because you think you should do it, but because it's funny and it's relatable, right? Like that's the space it's really as a whole moving to. It's interesting to see how that translates like to the business side of things, because it's you have some businesses that are very like corporate, post certain times a week. Like we have strategies like that based off of like the company and the brand's goals. But we have some who like we're getting to do this really cool like hybrid crossover version of like we get to do some really cool like authentic random like things, but then we also have that like professional touch too. So like it's just really cool. It's an interesting space to be in, and it's ever changing, which is why I think I love it so much, because it's never going to be the same. In 3 months we could be having a totally different conversation. You know what I mean? Like
I agree. I keep seeing like that because I'm a TikTokaholic. Not that I post a lot. I just love watching it. And so I'm seeing some of these things that like we'll just say even 5 years ago weren't a thing, like the Duolingo, how they're doing all these like crossovers and stuff. And I'm just like, this is amazing. It's engaging, it's making me laugh, but also I didn't see those two companies like working together or whatever. And so I think you're right. It definitely ebbs and flows. It's the same with entrepreneurship. I think, well, we'll just say life. Just put the slap of the label on life. Life ebbs and flows.
Honestly.
I mean, there's not the only thing consistent is taxes, and we know that, you know?
The only thing consistent is change.
That too, yeah. You're right,
Yeah.
because even the taxes change. I just filed my taxes yesterday and I was like, dang, we do this every year at the same time. And I was like, this is the one consistent thing in my life right now.
Oh, I love it.
Listen, I'm not great with consistency. Actually, the one thing that is consistent is my inconsistency. So I'm having a hard time. I'm working on my social media, and you're right about the posting. Is like it'll tell, like on Facebook and stuff, it'll tell you like people look at this time, and I think to myself, well, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm trying to target entrepreneurs. I know that we're usually up at 5 o'clock in the freaking morning, and we stay up till 2 a.m. But that time between like 8 and 7, we are not on the internet.
Yep.
So I have to
My
think
job is the internet, and I'm not on the internet during those times.
exactly. And like I've gotten really frustrated with those like meta business, because I'll go to like post something and I'll have it timed out and then it doesn't post and I'm like, you're ruining my life.
Well, and I think that there's social media, again, at its core was created to be a tool of connection. It has turned into a behemoth of it's a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's an industry. Social media itself is an industry, and you have just all these things. But I think people get lost in the noise of it all. You have all these influencers. Oh, if you just, here's the secret sauce to going viral, and here's how I did this, and here's how I grew this account this much, and blah, 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 blah. And there's so much noise. It's so easy to get bogged down with it. And I'll be honest with you, not a damn one of them knows the secret. There is no secret. It doesn't exist. There's no special formula to the only thing, some of my most viral videos, several million views, okay, on TikTok. One of them is me eating a salad, for Christ's sake, okay? Like, it's a salad. Come on. And it's like, oh, well, if you do this and you have a hook and you do all these things, you're going to have retention and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, while yes, okay, like, logistically, some of those things are true, right? You're wasting, you could be outputting twice the amount of content, authentic content, in the time it takes you to nitpick one. Okay? And I think people lose that sometimes. They're like, oh, social media, so da, da, da. It's all about how people are winning right now on social media is authentically showing up, being consistent, but consistency isn't lateral. That's a whole other thing. Gary Vee, I don't know if you follow him,
Yeah.
did a great post the other day, and it was all these glasses of water, and it was like consistency doesn't look like this, and it was all the glasses of water filled like to the exact same level. And it said, and the bottom line was consistency looks like this. And it was all the glasses of water all filled to different levels. And I was like, that is such a profound way of putting it, because it's so true. Nobody, I mean, I do this for a living, and there are days like I struggle with consistency too. Like, we're all human. It's fine. Like, again, there's no secret sauce. You don't have to show up on social media at the same time every day. You don't have to post a certain number of stories. You have to show up.
That is something that I have learned. Very hard lesson to learn, because I was one of those people, and I'm like, okay, I want people to know who I am. And then I was like, no, I don't. I just want them to know what I tell them. And then I was like, wait a second. If I'm authentic and I show up authentically, then they're going to know who I am. And even if I don't post consistently at the same time every day, they're going to come find me because I resonate with them.
And that's, you know, my, not, I guess it's not really a mantra, but with social media, my whole thing with it now is the people that are looking for me will find me, right? Like, on whatever video, you know, I obviously went on a weight loss journey. I've been sharing a lot recently about my journey on a GLP-1 because I had gained a little bit back, and now I'm on a GLP-1. And I get all these comments, but I get all these messages. And it's just like, it's so cool because you never know who you're impacting. You never know. The craziest, it's not even like that big of a story, but like the most impactful thing that's ever happened to me on social media was a few years ago. So my daughter's 7 this year. This happened when she was 3. So about 4 years ago, around Christmas time, my son chopped my daughter's pigtail off with safety scissors. And at that point, my hair was like really long. You know, it was bleach blonde back then. And we went to go get like her haircut, and she was like so nervous, and like, you know, because I mean, he hacked it off, right? Like, it was like, we went from like long, beautiful, like Goldilocks to like ear level bob. Okay. Like, it was a lot. And so in that moment, you know, I cut my hair short too. And I shared that whole story on social media. And about a month after that, I had this mom reach out to me and was like, my daughter has, it was alopecia or something. So she was struggling with something. And she was like, you know, we've been talking about cutting her hair, and she's just not had the courage to do it, but she watches your videos with me. And she was like, she loves your short hair so much. And the mom sent me a photo of her daughter and was like, today she worked up the courage. We went and cut her hair. And I was like, it's something that sounds so insignificant to someone else, but like, that has stuck with me for years and years and years. Even when I'm feeling discouraged, like maybe I make a really cool video and I'm like, oh, this is going to do so well, and then it flops, right? Mm-hmm. I think back to like, you know what? You never know who's watching your stuff and the impact you're having, because yeah, you see the people commenting and saving and sharing your stuff. So like, you know, some people are resonating with, but there's a whole audience that's too scared to engage or too scared to comment, who you never know who you're reaching and who your vulnerability and your struggles and everything you're sharing, you never know who you're helping. And that was just a little glimmer I got to, like, obviously the privilege of knowing, right? Like, I appreciate that, you know, she reached out and told me that story, but I'm sure there's countless others that I'll never know about. But you have to stay in that mindset of you just never know. And you have to have like confidence that the people that are looking for you will find you, whether that's you're getting 5 likes on a post or 5,000, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely. And that was one of the things too, that I had to really put in perspective is like, if 5 people showed up at your front door, yep, you know, that's a lot of people. So you know, don't look at 5 likes as it's nothing, because it is something.
Yeah, 100%.
So going into final thoughts, because we're on the Jerry Springer show today. Was there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience?
I don't know. I don't think so. You know, I think we covered a lot of topics. I think that if there's anything I could say to anyone out there, whether you are in business or you are thinking of starting a business or whatever, you have the desire for a reason. You want it because future you is out there enjoying it. And I think it's so easy to get caught up in the noise or listen to the quote unquote gurus. And look, you don't have to listen to me. Like, just take it from somebody who's fallen on her face plenty of times. You know, it's not linear. Growth is not linear. It's, you know, you're going to stumble, you're going to fail, you're going to fall on your face, you're going to learn hard lessons, you're going to have triumphs. It's going to be great. It's going to suck. You're going to cry. You're going to hate your life. Like, you're going to love your life. Like, it's a beautiful, messy, chaotic journey. Like, when you choose to, you know, chase something for you and not for someone else. And I think even when it's hard, you have to show up even if you don't want to. You have to show up.
I agree with you on that. And that is one thing that I am working on, is showing up no matter how I feel. So tell everybody where they can find you. I'll link it with the episode below, but shout it out in case they're listening and they don't have a pin.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to chat with me, you can follow me on TikTok, Instagram. It's just at It's Life with Katie. And then if you're interested in any of our services, you can reach out to us on Instagram or Facebook, 111.group.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I had a great conversation with you. I learned a lot, and I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us. And for everyone else, we'll see you next Tuesday for another amazing episode of Down Home Dirt. Bye. Don't forget to like and subscribe.